How's it going, YouTube? Oxy here, and welcome back. So, the day has finally come. Godzilla X Kong The New Empire has released. Of course, this is my review. I saw it on Saturday, of course, of opening weekend, which can we just say that, wow, the Monsterverse really never fails to surprise in the sense that, compared to Marvel or DC with their shared universes that they have, right? Where DC is pretty much rebooting, right? They're done. And then Marvel's just, well, Disney as a whole, I think, is like struggling, where they're really trying to find their footing or being more selective, as in, like, they really were just putting out too many movies, so now they're really, like, being more careful with what they greenlight, right? Like, put money towards. Anyways, the Monsterverse is doing really well. This movie was projected. It's the lowest budget film in the Monsterverse at 125 million. No, not really any big name actors this time around. No Millie Bobby Browns or that sort. Um, yeah, lowest budget, and the Monsterverse has never really been like banger at the box office. Like the highest grossing, I think, was King of the Monsters, and that one, or I think possibly Godzilla versus Kong. I think the most they made globally, like one movie, was like 600 million. Like none, like they're never hitting like a billion, or they never have gotten that close. But that being said, they've been consistent. They're profitable, or they break even. Whereas this one was projected, I think, domestically, like in the 50 million range, to be like, uh, to be like fair. And then worldwide, I think they were hoping like 90 or something like that, like under 100 million. Pretty modest. Well, it's smashing expectations. I think domestically it hit about 80 or 90, and a worldwide opening of almost 200 million. It literally already made its budget back. Now, it's not including marketing, but it's like essentially the film is going to be profitable. So that's great news. Um, Critics wise, I think that's just the Monsterverse in general. This film sits at like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, but audience scores at over a 90. And if you can't tell by, my, like, how I'm talking, I really enjoyed this film. It isn't perfect, no, but I had a lot of fun with it. But just wanted to bring that up, that the Monsterverse is doing really well, and they've essentially all but confirmed that a further sequel, another one. Well, I guess I should get into it, but this film focuses more on Kong, right? On his story. Godzilla is kind of a background character. Um, and the essentially for the next one, they would do the reverse, where we'd focus back on Godzilla again, and maybe if Kong is in it at all, which he probably would be, he'd be like more a background character. But, anyways, I really enjoyed the film. It was a lot of fun. Of course, people endlessly complain. The comparisons to Godzilla minus one, right? The Japanese film, outstanding, definitely top three Godzilla film for me. One of the only ones that has interesting human characters, a human story, and it won an Oscar for best visual effects. Yeah, you would never expect Godzilla and the Oscars to be in the same sentence, but here we are. So that's one above Marvel. Marvel's never won an Oscar. But yeah, Godzilla, they did with minus one. But again, the endless comparisons are annoying. It's like, look, we get it. It's a great film, but it's like you can have both. You can have the more serious, compelling story, right? Coming of age. And we can have the goofy, like, Showa, like, big monsters fight too. It's like you can have both. Enjoy what you like. Look, if you don't like one or the other, that's cool, but it's no need to bash on others just for liking it. I enjoy both, and I will continue to like both. Anyways, the film was awesome. Again, the fact that there are no essentially big name actors really did not take away with it. prime example. No disrespect to her, Millie Bobby Brown. Of course, her character in the last movie was more about like, I don't know. She was kind of like a needless exposition character to be like, oh, this is what Godzilla's doing. It's like, yeah, we like, you don't need to tell me. I can figure that out by watching the movie. Her character was pretty useless. The whole family thing was like, who cares? Um, well, I guess that was more King of the Monsters, but yeah, in GVK and versus Godzilla versus Kong, she was pretty useless. Bernie's back though, the conspiracy like podcaster, which he was paired with her, but now without her, I think he's better. He serves his role well. Yes, he's a comedic relief, which comedy is subjective, so some people find him so hilarious, some won't. I did. I thought he was pretty funny, or at least in the theater I saw it in. People like there were noticeable laughs at Bernie and a new character, which I forget his name, but we'll just call him the, like, I don't know, the wildlife explorer, typical Australian, which they introduced pretty well that he's like a vet, but for kaiju, because in the movie the Kong has like a cracked tooth, so they have to sedate him and take it out. And I think they do a good job of connecting him to the doctor, our main, the, I forget her name, damn. But the mother of Gia, right, the adoptive mother of the deaf Iwi girl, who's the last of her kind, or so we thought. They like used to date, or it's an implied like, yeah, they have a history together, which again, it just fits naturally. Like small little dialogue, like, oh, how you been, blah blah blah. Like, you know, it's like we never met the character before, but hey, we know they haven't established like they know each other. But one thing I could say, yeah, a plus is like, I mean, all the monster fights. I mean, it's action packed, of course. You have Godzilla, you have Kong, Scar King as the big bad. And if you've seen the trailers, it's not a spoiler. There are others of Kong's race, so you have like other apes in the mix. Well, Suko, right? The official name of the little Kong. And I guess somewhat spoiler territory, even though there are leaks. So you've been warned. Go see the film because there is a surprise if you haven't seen any leaks. So you've been warned. So Shimo, we know, right? Which they confirmed her gender. She is a female. The Ice Titan, right? Like the ancient one that Scar King has control over with this, like, because he has that whip, like that bone whip weapon, and at the end of it is a crystal that essentially he uses to control her, which, I mean, hey, we just know it does. They don't really explain how a crystal would control this ancient titan that like caused the ice age, and it's implied that she froze King Ghidorah, which it would make sense, right? Because he was frozen in ice. It's like, no, she did it because she was like, she's an alpha. She's huge, by the way. She really dwarfs like Kong, even Godzilla to a point. Like, she's huge. She's big. Um, yeah, and then Mothra, she's back. Gia plays a big part in that because in this movie, as I said, we see the Kongs. There are more of them, of the species, but also the Iwi, Gia's tribe from Skull Island. There is a Hollow Earth population. There are more of them. And it's a pretty cool thing about like their civilization. They use gravity, and that's actually pretty awesome. Like, I'm like, oh, that makes sense because being in the center of the earth, gravity's different. Or they have like these cool crystal pyramids they move around, and like they send a distress signal because Scar King, like long ago, Godzilla had trapped them, in the Hollow Earth, and they're essentially trying to get back to the surface. Scar King, I thought, was done well. Him and Shimu were pretty good. The only complaint I can mention with them is I wish we had more time with them. Because, I mean, again, first time viewing, it just didn't seem like we could, especially Shimo. She was mainly just under control, which we know she was like against. Like, it was more working against her will. But with Scar King, I wish we got a little more with him, because I don't think it's much of a spoiler. It's pretty expected that he is defeated by the end of this movie. Shimo is freed, right? So she can think of her own will. Um, but yeah, other than that, the monster fights, I mean, Mothra too, she helps out. She isn't killed for once. It's like in every movie she's introduced, she dies, but there's that implied, like, that never ending cycle, or that there is like some mystical aspect to her, right? That she's like, it's the same Mothra, it isn't like her child, it's like she's a goddess and she's always reborn. And Gia plays a part in that because it's something like to call on Mothra, which now she has like an all golden look. It has to be a Iwi from Skull Island. They have a prophecy that, you know, one will come, which is Gia, because they go to Hollow Earth to explore. Because there's like been an attack, or yeah, exploring like the Iwis were sending a distress signal, which appears like kind of like earthquakes, right? Or that little like you know, that like earthquake reader, and there's like these signals that are consistent. Gia dreams about them because we find out the Iwis are telepathic. They could speak to each other, like, you know. So there's a lot of funny scenes where it's literally Iwis staring at each other. Excuse me. And yeah, like staring at each other, and it's just implied like, oh, okay, like they said something. Well, the film does a lot of that. Like, there's no like subtext, which I don't mind. It's like we don't need it. But one thing I can heavily praise this film for, that really none of the other Monsterverse movies have done, and I hope they do continuing forward, is long extended scenes without any human characters, no dialogue. It's possible. Like, outstanding scene when Kong gets to the Hollow Earth, like he's met Zuko and he's tried to betray him, and you know he defeats these other apes to try to ambush him. When he essentially meets Scar King, and that whole like he realizes, oh shit, I'm not the only like ape, right? Like great ape. There's more of us. It's like a long, like 20-minute scene, no dialogue, no subtitles, but you know exactly what Kong or the other characters are thinking or their intentions. Really well done. And because all the naysayers were like, oh, you have to have a human story, it's like, I don't know, that scene alone really proves you did not. That's one thing I'll give Adam Wingard, the director of, he did, Godzilla versus Kong and now X Kong, and he will, I guess, do the eventual sequel, the third one. I will commend him that, yeah, that scene was fantastic. I love that because it really puts the naysayers to rest, or proves that you can have a Monsterverse movie with no dialogue. Because I think one thing fans have always wanted, I know in the extended lore, um, that Godzilla had, like, there was more of his species obviously, but a descendant Dagon. It was like in the very first, the 2014 movie, the remains that they're examining in the beginning is like Dagon, Godzilla's ancestor. And I guess people have been asking for like a prequel movie set in the prehistoric times when the Titans ruled the earth, and you have like Dagon versus like the Kongs, because we saw how the Kongs develop like the weapons, right, with like the Godzilla fin, like to able to fight back with the atomic breath. Like a movie obviously with little to no humans. I mean, I guess maybe cavemen, but and just no dialogue. It could work, sure. Maybe it's too artsy fartsy to try to do a film like that, but it really just proved that the Kong, Godzilla are characters and they stand on their own. We don't need a Millie Bobby Brown or someone to tell us what they're feeling. It's like you can convey that, and they do a fantastic job of that. I guess in some more minor complaints, would have loved to have seen more Godzilla. That's always, you know, what can you do? It was a more Kong-focused movie, so Godzilla is relegated to like sporadic appearances. He essentially kills off some Titans pretty quickly. I'm sorry. Supercharges, because he kills a specific like aquatic one that had like a great source of radiation from the sun, and he supercharges because he could feel the Iwi distress signal, and him and Kong have to team up. Of course, we get Super Saiyan Rose Godzilla with the pink. She looks awesome, I think. And Kong, oh, I should mention that the Infinity Gauntlet, right? His gauntlet, cool idea. I do not mind it at all, but it is just ridiculous. How he gets it, or just how convenient it is. Like, like because Kong in his first encounter with Shimo, obviously she has ice breath, so she gives him frostbite essentially in one hand, and of course it's like he can't really use it. And then they're like, oh, what about Project? I forget Project something, and it's like essentially like armor enhancements, like Iron Man, but for Titans, and it specifically fits Kong. And oh, it's in this bunker immediately, like not that, like like a mile away from us, and it's like okay, that's too convenient. Like, look, I get it. The Monsterverse is full Showa, like aliens, like Hollow Earth. Like, I'm for it. I love it. Give me more. But even I was like, okay, that's way too convenient. And I mean, the human characters do their part. They don't. I mean, they're fine. They're just there to move the plot along, right? I don't hate them. Again, I thought Bernie was pretty funny. He fits his role well. The doctor, the motherly figure of Gia, she's fine too. They have a nice little heartwarming scene where it's like, hey, home is with you, and if you see the movie, you'll get that. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the film, the monster fights. Like the movie on its own, Godzilla suplexes Kong. Now, not a German suplex, but like a traditional one where I'm Godzilla, Kong is like facing me, and he like full on suplexes him into a pyramid. Like that alone is a 10 out of 10. I know that'll be a scene like the famous Godzilla drop kick, that will be used for years to come. I love it. I'm all for the ridiculousness, and yeah, all I can really ask for a sequel is just more characters. Toho, I mean, the film is smashing expectations, doing really well. Please give us more. Of course, Destroya would be awesome. Biollante, I would love. Jet Jaguar would be cool. I mean, at this point, if you're giving the Titans armor with this gauntlet, I'm like, just give us a giant mech at this point. Jet Jaguar would be awesome. Have him fight. I guess we need Megalon at that point. But yeah, it's like you could do so well, and I'm just happy as a Godzilla fan. We should just be happy. We're eating good again. We had -1, which won an Oscar. The Monsterverse is doing well. It's the only shared universe that's like thriving, which is insane. Because everyone of all of them, everyone like shit on the Monsterverse, right? They're like, oh, it's the worst, like Marvel all day. But now it's like after the superhero fatigue that's very much prevalent now. It's like Marvel ain't doing so hot. DC is rebooting, so they were horrible. And yeah, the Monsterverse lives on, which they took the smart approach. Don't commit to like 20 films and like then all of a sudden you're surprised no one cares anymore. Take it one film at a time. They treat each one essentially as the last, and they're just, if anything, growing in popularity. It's like, yeah, it's almost as like, just give us a fun movie, that we can enjoy. Obviously, bring the monster action. That's what we're here for. And, fans will come and watch. That's really all there is to it. But Godzilla X Kong, the new empire, if I had to rate it on a number scale, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's a very fun movie. Now, as I usually say with these types, no, it isn't some like Oscar worthy like drama piece, because those are the only movies that ever win awards. The dialogue isn't like profound or deep. It's a fun movie. It's a summer blockbuster, essentially, even though we're a little early we're in April now, but the movie came out tail end of March. Movies can be fun. You're allowed to enjoy fun movies. And again, although critics give it like a 50%, the audience score is a 92 at the time, the highest of any Monsterverse film. It's a lot of fun. I definitely, of the five so far, it probably is in the top three, which I know it isn't a deep thing, but yeah, because off the top of my head, that's pretty hard to give ranking. I probably, it's pretty hard. But it's not the worst one. I'll say that, at least in my opinion. But yeah, guys, do with that what you will. Go see the movie. It's smashing records. It's gonna be profitable, and again, they do well, we get more, which is all we could really ask for. So, go see it. Go see it again. Support good shared universes, and that's really all I can say. But with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike. That's okay. And yeah, with that being said, I've been your host, Oxy. Take care, and I'll see you next time.